Thursday, 25th of May, 2023. In this evening's show, we are discussing the reappointment of Neil Critchley as Blackpool's new manager almost a year after he walked out on the club. We'll also be catching up on all latest news since the last pod, including relegation, the retain list, season ticket prices, and much, much more. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders podcast, extra time show. Critch is back on the grass. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast. Been a while since the last show. On the panel this evening are Matt, Andy, and Nick. No Tim, because he's off on one of his sojourns, I think he calls it, doesn't he, Nick? Yellow, yes. Yellow panted up, I bet.
He will, yes, or raspberry, one or the other.
Bradshaw's guide in hand.
He has more holidays than Judith Bloody Chalmers, Tim Fielding, doesn't he? For those of a certain vintage.
Yes. He's always picking somewhere to wear his body warmer, isn't he?
For the benefit of the audio pod, Andy, can you tell what's decorating your wall there? You too, Nick.
It's got a lovely little black body warmer. It's a quoted version, preferred by certain ex-Villa assistant managers.
Mitch, it was always a stick to beat Critch with. Mitch with Critch, the body warmer. Many a gag you've had with that reference. You're not sporting one today in homage to the return of the Messiah.
No, I just reject the concept of body warmers in general. I think they're wannabe coats that haven't quite made it.
Wannabe coats. Nick, you've got one hung up as well. Is it a BFC one? Is it a Critch one, or is it a... Knowing you, it's some sort of designer label.
It's Barber, yeah. I was wearing it, but I'm roasting, so I've taken it off. I thought I'd dust it down, given the news this week.
Certainly was interesting when it came out. What was everyone's reaction? Eddie was buzzing when he found out. He was over the moon. Matt, I believe your son had a slightly different reaction.
Yeah, so I said to my lad, I said, guess who's the Blackpool manager again? And he went, Simon Grayson. And I went, no. And he went, oh, that other one. And I went, Neil Critchley. And then he folded his arms and went, well, he's going to have to win my trust back, isn't he? Which I thought, and then that was all he said about it. And I thought that kind of summed it up quite well.
I think he's going to have to regain the trust of a lot of people, isn't he? I'll tell you what, we'll go through that in a bit, because it's the main section of the show, but we've got to talk about relegation since we've not podded for a few weeks. If only we'd beaten Cardiff, eh? Mm-hmm. Nick, you went to Norwich, just a bit of a jolly, but as it turned out to be I won't say a great performance, but it was certainly a job done by Stephen Dobby.
Yeah.
Didn't really have much of the ball in the first, 20-25 minutes, but we've done a sucker punch, and then we've gone on to sort of not dominate the game, but we've done really well, and I think we ran out worthy winners in the end.
We did, yeah. It was very much the Timo Pukki show. Timo Pukki, is it?
Play till Timo scores, I think, was Norwich's game plan.
Yeah, it was give him the ball and hope he can put it in the back of the net. So we certainly spoiled that party a bit. It had a bit of a, as it would do, a dead rubber feel to it. But I thought, we played well in spell. We looked really dangerous on the break. I thought Morgan Rogers led the line really well, took his goal really well. Bit of a cameo from one or two of the development squad, the youth team in the second half. Rob Apter looked quite lively when he came on. So it was a good end for Dobby, and I thought he did well in the spell that he had. In the 6 games. It was a good trip. It wasn't really about the football. We went for a few days. Got there on the Friday. Tim came on the Sunday. I was saying to the guys just before we came on, we had our very own Alan Partridge. There was lots of Alan Partridge references because all the lads who went, love the show. And we went to meet Martin Kelly. He'd had a boat on the Norfolk Broads for a week. So we went to Norwich train station. You know the episode where Partridge is trying to sell his book on the platform? That old dear comes to talk. Yeah, that old dear. And he says, train to Lowestoft, platform 6, run, you will miss it. So we got to Norwich train station. We said, we need to go to a place called Brundle where this marina was, where Martin was picking us up. And the woman says, yeah, you need to get the train to Lowestoft, platform 6. So I was already laughing about it, and we got on it. And Tim was literally touch and go whether he was going to get there. So he was only coming on the Sunday. So he's messaging me saying, right, I'm just outside Norwich. I'll get parked up. I said, right, the train's at 4 minutes past 12. And he got into the train station, got his ticket, and literally had to run so he didn't miss the train. Only he literally made it by a minute. And then we went out to meet Martin on his boat. It was massive, huge, big thing. Had a great day on the Norfolk Broads, stopping at a couple of pubs, and then you literally go right into the city centre and moored up and went to a pub. And there was quite a few Blackpool fans, obviously, who had the same idea as us and were making a weekend of it. So it was a good trip, and it's a really nice city as well. Some really nice pubs and restaurants. So yeah,
what a way to have a good time.
Indeed, that got mentioned more than once when we're on the boat. So yeah, a good end to a disappointing season.
Right. So speaking of disappointing seasons, Andy, the damage was obviously done, I think, before Stephen Dobby took charge. Briefly, what's the one thing you identify as to why we went down last season?
It's just,
or a combination of things.
It was 2 bad appointments and a load of injuries, and that's all I could really say. It's I think we all know Appleton was not the right one, although he did get stuffed by injuries a bit. He was still not the right guy. And they jumped completely the wrong way, didn't they, when they appointed McCarthy? On the face of it, did he look didn't look too bad, right? But he wasn't a Warnock, and if we'd have had a good look at it, he's not an Allardyce, he's not a Warnock who's taken teams at the bottom and inspired, a relegation save. It was fairly obvious to most of us, wasn't it, after 2-3 games of McCarthy, that it was going to be horrendous. And even his first game we won against Stoke, that 1-0, let's be honest about it, they should have beat us 4-1, shouldn't they? That day, something around that. They missed some great chances that day. And it obviously wasn't working. And I campaigned for Dobby when Appleton went, and I just thought he felt the right fit. He felt like he would get the supporters on side, and what we didn't quite get until he took over. We didn't get the supporters fully on side, did we? And he had a 50% win record. You could argue it was shot to nothing, but I genuinely feel sorry for him. I think 50% win record in the circumstance we're in with the players that he had, that was a really good effort, to be honest.
Mitch, he looks great in a body warmer as well, even though his beard's a bit too pointy.
Oh no, the beard's a highlight of him.
Do you like the beard?
Oh, I love the unkempt beard. It's just.
No, I'd say it's kempt. I think it's over manicured. Is that the style these days?
I think he's let it grow to a point that sort of defines.
You should go for a Tony Beats look like Nick. Tony Beats off Gold Rush.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of the coach beard off Ted Lasso in him as well, isn't there? No, I thought the Dobster did brilliantly. I really did. I mean, I don't think I've ever disagreed with Nick before, but I in our chat, Nick used the phrase. He had a free hit.
You don't like that word, do you?
I don't, and I've argued with a few people online about it, because I don't think Dobby had a free hit, in the sense that, the world's littered with assistant managers, caretaker managers, people who've stepped up from within, who've then blown their opportunity of showing that they can, inspire a dressing room. We all laughed at TC, didn't we? Not getting a tune out of it. But we also laughed at the fact that TC's one attempt at management was when he took over at Wolves. And I think he managed 9 games and his win record was 0. And funnily enough, TC has then ever since then followed Mick McCarthy around. You know, there's our own history. There's people like, you know, when Mick...
Hang on a minute. TC is now his own man at Granada, isn't he?
Oh, is he now?
Not Granada TV, the national side Granada. So it'll be interesting to keep tabs on that.
Yes.
Is he getting a tune in Granada?
Presumably, his option was pottering around home base with Mick or going managing Granada, wasn't it? Because Mick's not doing anymore. But, you know, we've had our own sort of, you know, I don't know, Mick Hennigan and Mike Davies took over once upon a time and didn't do very well. And neither of them have ever gone on and worked at there. So I don't think Dobby had 0 pressure. And what I loved about what Dobby did was that he made us resilient. And the players in some of those games, we went behind or we sort of, things didn't go our way and we came back. And that made me think that there was more to him. I liked what he did tactically. I liked the way we played with more freedom. And I accept that that's something that was circumstantial. You can play with freedom when you're pretty much relegated or you are relegated. And I get that, you know, we did play some teams who maybe were a bit on the beach, but we also played Luton. We also played Millwall and we made a good fist of those games. And I thought it was really brave him playing the way he did in some of those games because those are the kind of games where you might be tempted to think, oh, well, I better not.
But defending against Luton would have won the game. We were just really shoddy at the back, weren't we?
Well, but it was individual mistakes, really. Yeah. It wasn't sort of disorganisation. It was Hubby going mad. So I thought Dobby did brilliantly, and we'll go on and talk about, you know, who he wanted as manager. But on the relegation thing, I think, you know, Andy's spot on in terms of appointments that don't make sense, and I actually don't think we could have got Warnock or Allardyce. I don't think they would have made much difference because we had a team with an average weight of about 10 stone and a height of about 5'7".
I agree with you there. I don't think Warnock would have kept us up either.
And I don't even particularly blame McCarthy because I think McCarthy just came in and did what McCarthy does with completely the wrong set of players. If we'd have had a load of 6'4" lump, you know, if we'd have had a team of Gary Medines, then McCarthy football would have worked. But we really didn't. We had a team of the opposite of Gary Medine. That didn't work. And I think the other thing is that we've got to accept, and you know, we've got to look back. The recruitment was woeful. The money we spent was not spent well. You know, sort of Callum Wright is probably, in fact, Callum Wright was so unsuccessful. I'm not even sure he's called Callum Wright. I've forgotten his name. It is Callum Wright, isn't it? The lad we got going to Plymouth.
You're not mixing him up with Callum Guy, who scored for Carlisle.
He did indeed.
He scored for Carlisle, didn't he?
You know, he was kind of emblematic of our transfer policy. So a player that we didn't really seem to know why we'd bought him. I think he was the most expensive signing.
I don't think even he knew, did he? He did. No. Callum Guy, Callum Wright. Sorry.
No, he seemed to know why he was there. Or him.
He's like got shoved out of the tunnel. Like, where am I?
And then some injured players, you know, some players with known injury records. And, you know, Appleton, he was the wrong choice. But I do have sympathy for Appleton. I mean, I've said this. I don't think he was as bad as we thought he was. I think he was horrendously unlucky with injuries. And also, you know, Bridgut and Tribal as the two linchpins of midfield. Players who managed, I think, a combined total of, well, I think they played a combined total of something like 360 minutes between them. Which is, you know, if they're your two big midfield signings, you ain't having a great season, are you? So yeah, I'd say the recruitment and then just bizarre appointment of McCarthy was probably why we went down. But it's done, innit?
Yeah, injuries. Obviously, Nick didn't help, but the disciplinary record, all those red cards, some deserved, some not deserved. They can't have helped either. But I think as Mitch has just said, it's gone now.
Yeah.
The season's done. I guess we've just got to move forward and look to the future. And the future is wearing a gilet.
It is indeed, yes. Mr. Critchley is back. I wasn't too strong either way, really. I wasn't jumping for joy, and I wasn't, oh my God, what have we done that for? I kind of thought, right, okay. I mean, we do seem to have this obsession with ex-managers, although I can kind of understand this one a bit more than than previous appointments. You know, he's got us out of this division before, and then was pragmatic enough with the tools at his disposal to keep us in the Championship. So I suppose from Simon Sadler's point of view, it's an opportunity for maybe that to happen again. You know, we use the analogy when he walked out, didn't we, that it was like your girlfriend telling you she loved you, and then the next day there's the Dear John letter, and here we are 12 months later. She's walking up the drive with a suitcase, realising that the milkman wasn't all that. Yeah. And at least I suppose we've got somebody in. It's early enough to build a squad over the summer. I just hope we don't spend all of it trying to sign Cameron Brannigan. You know, and there is a bit of a rebuild job, isn't there? He knows the players, so there's lots of positives in it. And you know, having time to think about it, I'm you know, getting more and more positive about it. I'm certainly not, you know, kind of, oh, he was a snake and all of this, and I'm not going to buy a season ticket. At the end of the day, he went to earn a lot more money. We'd have all done the same thing. It didn't work out, and hopefully he'll have learned from his experience at Villa and also from QPR, and he's a better manager for it. I would say he's probably not got the credit in the bank that he probably had first time round. You know, if we lose our first 8 games, you know, there'll probably be a few people with something to say, but hopefully that doesn't happen, because I think we had our fair share of toxicity last season, and if we can get off to a good start with good recruitment, I think you know, hopefully everybody's learned, you know, at the club from last season and what we need to do in terms of recruitment and things like that, and we probably need 5, 6, 7 players in with who's been released, and there's probably, you know, I would imagine there's a bit of a queue of clubs coming in for Jerry, so we could see him go, but we need to reinvest that money wisely to rebuild the team. And if the plan is, and hopefully the plan is, to have a real push at promotion, you know, because you can get stuck in this division for a long time as clubs who've spent more money than us have seen, you know, and there's still going to be some big clubs in there next season, so it's not going to be easy by any of the stretch of imagination. But if we get off to a good start, and hopefully we can recreate that atmosphere that we had when he was in charge first time round, when, you know, if we went a goal down, the North Stand just got louder. It might take a bit of time for that to happen, but if it can, then hopefully we can recreate what we did in his first spell.
Okay, over to you next, Andy. How did you feel about the reappointment of Neil Critchley? Obviously, you were a Dobby fanboy. I think probably if I could pick, I'd have gone for Dobby as well. So, do you think this is the next best option?
I genuinely feel sorry for Dobby. I genuinely feel sorry for him, because I think, you know, you work hard for opportunities, and, you know, if you're given an opportunity to do it really well, and then sort of still be pushed aside and pushed into his other job, to be fair as well. So, you know, we all don't know whether we don't know. He's obviously going to be disappointed not to get the job, I would have thought, because he said the right things, doesn't he, about how he feels about the club and what the club means to him. And let's be fair, it does mean more to Dobby than to us anyway, or to me. The club means more to Dobby than Critch, I would have thought. But although Dobby never played, he never actually signed permanently.
He's always on loan.
Right, it's bizarre. But he definitely did all the right things, and he engaged 100% with the supporters. So I'm really disappointed for him that he didn't get a go.
There was rumours going around that he was going to be Neil Critchley's number 2. We know that's not the case. And just listening back to the Radio Lancashire interview with Critchley, I've just listened back to, he's not picked his backroom staff yet, but I don't think he's going to be a part of that backroom staff. Or not
it sounded from the club interview, it sounded like Sadler had sort of sounded him out about whether he wanted to be up in the first team. And Sadler was quite insistent that Dobby had said he wanted to go back to doing what he was doing. So
that's the impression I took from him.
I guess he's more of a main man in the.
He didn't get the job. If he wasn't to get the job, he would prefer just to go back to what he was doing because, like, I think even in that team that he is, at least he's the manager, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say that he's going to be the main man, isn't he, in the development squad?
I genuinely think this is what I genuinely think. Dobby, something will either go wrong for us, and Dobby will take over and make a success of it, or he'll go somewhere else and we'll rue the day that we didn't have him. Whether we're successful in the meantime under Critch, and he can read. It's just going to be what it's going to be is tough. It's going to be a tough opening for Critchley because he started both seasons. He was full seasons. He was with us, right? Badly. He didn't start well.
Was it no wins in 10? Was it 1 win in 10?
Yeah, he was lucky. He didn't have any supporters in the first
COVID,
first year, and the second year we didn't start well in the championship, if you remember, and we pulled ourselves out of it. But we were all engaged in his project, and the North Stand were at their best, still engaged with his project, even when it had that wobble at the start of the championship.
So you don't think he'll get that leeway this time? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you hope he will, but you know he won't. You know he won't get that same. We're not engaged in his project anymore, are we?
I don't know. I think
like we
people
were.
are fickle, and I get it, but ultimately, I think if we're playing decent football, I think the majority will get behind him. We kind of have to because it's.
I'm not trying to be argumentative to it or whatever. I'm just trying to make the fact that those that are a bit halfy with him now won't give him the time. Whereas
the knives will soon come out, Andy. I think you're trying to say, aren't you? The knives will be out sooner than they would have been.
But we don't have to.
Even if the knives aren't out, I think Nick makes a point about if we're playing good football. I think that's an interesting question about what will he serve up. Now, at the end of the League One season, we did play some very good football when he went to the sort of 4-2-3-1 style, and we played some very, very nice football, and we looked like a bit of a juggernaut. Obviously, the Championship was a different boat, and we played a fairly industrial, on-the-break style of football, and there was a lot of, sideways and backwards retaining possession. And I understand why there was. It was pragmatic and it was effective. And I think that's going to be an interesting challenge for him. And I think that's partly... I was thinking about this the other day, like, why did I want Dobby so much? And I kind of thought about it like this. Mostly, Critchley was a pragmatic manager. He was very successful, and what he brought us last time, you can't undervalue it. He was brilliant. Wembley was one of the best days of my life. It was wonderful, that Wembley day. It was magic. Some of the away days in the Championship were absolutely magic, where we won against the odds.
Oh, Fulham, how good was that?
Oh,
that's one of my favourite away games.
Sheffield United away for me was the magic one. That was just sensational.
Yeah.
But it was never like really entertaining football. And then you go back, okay, well, what came before that? Well, we had Grayson before that. What came before that? Well, we had Terry McPhillips before that, and then we had this great big yawning black hole of a boycott. And then before that, we had some pretty ropey rank stuff. So you're going back ages since we've actually had somebody that actively plays aggressive attacking football. You're probably getting back to Holloway, aren't you? We've seen really aggressive attacking, exciting football. And I think that's what I fell in love with about Dobby. It wasn't about him being an ex-player. It was just that for the first time in ages, I was watching this sort of, we don't care, we'll score one more goal than you team. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting. If Critchley comes in and we're playing sort of passing along the back and percentages and, we might have drawn 1-1 with Shrewsbury, but we had excellent possession stats. I think there will be less patience for him than there was last time. I think if he picks a couple of good players, if he finds another Josh Bowler, if he sets us up in an exciting way, if he gives the players the head and he sort of approaches with confidence, I think people will maybe go a little bit more with some dicey results because they'll see that what he's trying to do is, get us up that league. And I think people have a bit more patience for that. But I think it'll be an interesting decision for him because he's very enigmatic tactically. You don't really quite know what he's going to do,
Well, do you remember we were trying to pick his team? Obviously,
Exactly.
the team picker at the preview show.
We couldn't even agree on the formation.
It used to be tried to pick his team. We gave up with that, so fuck it, we'll just pick our team.
Yeah, I was going to say you might as well sack that feature off if you're trying to pick his team because you're never going to get it right, are you? I think it comes down to what's going to happen over the summer, isn't it? Yeah. If he is backed with a view to, we want to get out of this league because let's be honest, there's a big drop in revenue, isn't there, between the Championship and League One? So 7 plus million. Yeah, so we will see what comes over the summer, and hopefully he gets a team that's capable of challenging him for promotion, and it's attacking, and we're all entertained.
Nick's obviously talks there about the squad, what sort of players we need. In his Radio Lanks interview, just harking back to that again, he more or less said it was bollocks that he wasn't backed for one of the reasons why he left initially. So that was quite interesting to hear, and I think Andy Bays said,
man.
Yeah, Andy Bays said you've actually picked up. You're starting with a much better squad than what you started with first time round at Blackpool. Has anyone got anything to say about that?
I don't want to jump in because I've just spoken, but very quickly, yes, I think he has started with a much better squad. And I think one of the things that does give me positive feelings about the Critch appointment is there's really, if you look at who's gone up this year in Championship, in League One and who's done well in the Championship, there's continuity at the heart of a lot of them. So Coventry, Robbins has been there for ages. Luton, okay, Edwards has only just gone in there, but they've had the squad together for a very long time, and Edwards has basically sort of slightly evolved Nathan Jones, but playing in the same way. Plymouth, Schumacher took over from Lowe, so there's that continuity of Schumacher's been there 4 or 5 times. Well, yeah. And the nearest thing to continuity we've got, and we could have gone from Derby from within, but the nearest thing we've got to continuity is Critchley coming back. Somebody put on, I think Nedu on Twitter put on something with Critchley has managed all but 3 of this squad previously. So, in a sense, you can't get more continuity than that. It's Tomo, Lyons, and Tommy Tribal are the only 3 that he didn't manage last time. And if I'm right in remembering, wasn't Lyons in the pipeline before Critchley left?
Yeah, I think it'd been talked about for quite a while, hadn't it?
Yeah, so Lyons is in essence probably one of his targets. I don't know whether Thompson was or not, but Lyons was probably one of his targets. So then, that squad is Neil Critchley is as near to continuity as we can get in that sense. And continuity, if you haven't got loads of money, continuity is a sort of a verifiable sort of element in what makes teams successful.
Well,
he's lost some good players in there as well. He's lost some of his better players.
He has, yeah.
He's lost probably the 2 outlets that we had that actually got us up the pitch, Keshi and Bowler, and I think that's where he's going to have massive challenges there because he's got to find progressive players, and he's got to find, and he's still looking for a solid one as well in midfield as well, and so it's not easy recruitment. You're right.
Well, you're probably talking. You need another keeper, don't you? Because Maxwell's gone, so you need someone.
Hang on a minute, Nick. Hang on a minute. Stuart Moore's gone as well.
Yes, of course.
How can you forget that?
Sorry,
disgrace, absolute disgrace.
So we need to replace Stuart Moore.
We have a 20-minute segment now where we describe minute by minute the 20 minutes he played against Blackburn and that one save he made.
Yeah. But joking aside, you need somebody to push Grimmy, or even maybe a first choice. I don't know. I'd imagine it's probably going to be Grimmy though, first choice.
You better
you're going to need a ball playing centre half because if we play the way we did first time round, there'll be a lot of playing out from the back.
He's been released. He's been released. Just saying.
Andy's just said you want at least one creative midfielder and probably maybe another one to do the dirty work. 2 wide players, and if Jerry goes, plus, sorry, Mitch, but Big Gaz has gone, so you need either a combination, somebody who can put themselves about a bit. Sorry
to interrupt you mid-flow. At the back end of the Radio Lancs interview, Andy Bays did ask him. Obviously, you weren't part of the retained list and deciding who was leaving the club. There are some out of contract players who have left the club. Would you, by any chance, be willing to go and speak to them? And he didn't rule it out. So Matt, all may not be lost. Pray to the Gary gods. He's now showing his signed Medine shirt to the camera. But if Neil could go out and if Critch could go out and persuade Keshi and Thornley to come back, and
I think Thornley would be a hard sell, possibly,
particularly with Critch.
I think Kesh would be a very, very, very good player to get back in if he can stay fit.
I think that's the thing with our signings. We need to sign players who can stay fit, and in doing that, you probably need to sign players who haven't had loads of injuries. Because we've seen, we've taken a gamble on some, and it absolutely didn't pay off. So I think we'll be looking at players who, as he would say, have been on the grass more than they've been off it.
Okay, let's talk about the retain list then. Contract options exercised on a quick drink. Connolly, Dougal, Hamilton, Husband, Lavery, Marietti, Will Squires, whoever that is, Matty Virtue, so that was a surprise, and Tate Trusty, who's left today to go to Hartlepool.
That's where he was on loan, wasn't it, Trusty?
Yeah. A lot of people were wondering about Matty Virtue. I personally think he'll do quite a good job in League One.
Well, Critch,
I've always liked him. I've always liked Matty Virtue.
He's just honest, isn't he? He'll graft. I mean, he's not the greatest footballer in the world, but but actually, that's maybe unfair.
He's got a good shot on him.
He's got a decent shot on him. He's got a decent brain, but he's just not quite quick enough to do, I think, what he would do. I think he sees and thinks the game very well, but he's just a little bit slow. But Critch adores him, and if he stays fit, Critch will make use of it.
He's been, his time with us is it's been a broken career with several injuries, hasn't it? So maybe if he stays injury free,
he had a good spell.
Can get a tune out of Matty Virtue.
Well, they liked him at Lincoln, and he had a good spell at Lincoln. There were some Lincoln fans joking on Twitter, sort of going, "Oh no, he's been terrible for us. You might as well let him go." Wink, wink, wink. Which is always, a good sign. And so he's had a good season at that level, and he's worth a place in the squad. I don't think you'd build a promotion campaign around Matty Virtue as your creative fulcrum, would you? But he's
that was just going to be my question. If you're talking promotion, do you have him in there week in, week out? Maybe not, but you'd say perhaps he's got a part to play.
I think he's the third midfielder you pick, isn't he? In that case, and I think for me, what worries me is that lack of creativity. I think you can buy, you can get players to fit the functional roles. You can get maybe a centre half, a full back, a defensive midfielder, and you can coach them and you can work them in within a system. And I think Critch is very good at that. But what his teams relied on was having the maverick with a bit of magic in the boot. So Bowler and Keshi, to be fair, when we were doing well in the Championship, but sort of bowlers through that season. And the season before, God bless him, Mr. Kai sort of popping up every now and again, doing absolutely nothing, but then spreading a magic pass or scoring a goal from 20 yards or whatever. But we have no players like that. We don't have that wild card player at all. And they're quite tricky to recruit because there's not as many of them. There isn't a Josh Bowler just hanging out on every street corner. There is a sort of reasonably functional defensive midfielder. And I think that's interesting, the way that Critch I think Critch's strength is he can build play. Do you remember when we had those mad injuries in the COVID season, and yet he always seemed to manage to put out a functional team? You'd look absolutely threadbare, but the team still functioned. It worked. I think he's brilliant at coaching his system, but I think that his system relies on having one or two wildcard players that maybe sometimes do work outside that system, and I think that's a challenge to recruit for.
Well, I went to view a house yesterday where my other half decided we're moving house. So, all I am is a viewing, having viewings every now and again. So I went to one yesterday, and they had a pond in the back garden, and I thought a joke. I thought for a joke, Brannigan was going to come out the pond.
A bit like Big Gaz in the kit reveal.
Well, somebody put in the chat before who's going to reveal the third kit out of the sea. Well, that'll be the answer, wouldn't it? That would be the ideal thing, would be Brannigan coming out of the pond in Stanley Park, covered in duckweed.
Duck shit. Swan shit.
Then Bedlow knocks him over, he's out for the season.
Sean, if you're listening, you know what to do.
Well, they had my bloody kit launch idea last year. That was my thing.
Going back to like Virtue. I mean, Virtue was the 23s captain at Liverpool, wasn't he? With Critch and Critchley, and I think he does like him. He genuinely likes him in the team. But if you think, would he take a role? Would he be in contention for a place, say, with Carey or something like that? And would you want, in what you've seen? Open question is, would you want Carey and not Virtue? And like Carey could do a lot of damage in League One.
I think it's how he sets up. If he goes back to that 4-2-3-1 kind of system, then I think Carey's the one in the hole. And I think Carey looked very, very good the odd time he played that one in the hole position. I don't want Carey in central midfield trying to be a central midfielder and trying to sort of battle his way through. But I think to be fair to Carey, at no time last year did anybody set up with two brutes in midfield making tackles and then tell him to go and play. And that's when Critch used him sparingly the season before. That's what Critch did with him. Two people did all the hard work and Carey did the football and linked it up and shot and threaded little passes and stuff. So, yeah, hopefully he can do that.
If Jerry goes, could this be the season when Shane Lavery kicks on? So if he stays injury free, he could do some damage at League One level. So
he could, yeah. I think there's a few in that position, isn't there, where maybe the Championship they'd struggled a little bit, and a season back in League One might do them the world of good. I still think we probably need to find another striker with Medine and Jerry going. Although who knows, the way Andy Lyons was going, he could end up with 20 next season. He could be a real revelation in League One.
He could be the Maverick centre forward.
You never know.
Who was that crazy lad who played for Italy at the last Euros that was like their fullback but had all their attacking in shots? What was he called? He's brilliant. He got injured towards the end of the Euros.
Yeah, he got hamstring.
Spinazzola, was it?
Roberto Scalacci.
Yeah, him. Yeah. Roberto Baggio.
Salvatore Scalacci.
Toto. Yeah.
He just came out of nowhere, didn't he?
He did. He certainly did, yeah.
Contract options not exercised. Bridcut, no surprises there. Garbett. Harvey Hughes, sorry, I don't know who that is. Labala. Sorry, Mitch. Gary Medine, Chris Maxwell, Kev Stewart, and Joe Strawn. So a couple of names I don't really know there. But thoughts and prayers, Mitch. Thoughts and prayers.
Well, there's nothing anyone can say. I'm just going to have to live with the pain.
Can Chisnell be going to the One's funeral?
Yeah, Chizzy's going to be gutted, isn't he? Garbs has gone. The one that left footed. Did he ever score a free kick?
Free kick. That was the biggest urban myth in
didn't,
footballing
did he?
terms.
I don't think he ever even came
He came with
close.
this reputation as being some shit hot free kick scorer with a wand of a left foot, and he didn't score one. Never looked like scoring either.
No,
did he?
that was the thing. It wasn't like you saw anything. Thought
Just hit the
oh,
post
yeah,
or ball or just go wide.
Yeah,
or...
he's just been a bit unfortunate here. You know, if he keeps going, one of these is going to hit the back of the net. It was just like, no, it's not happening. So I don't think there's any.
He's done a good job there, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think there's any massive surprises in that list. Really, is there?
We found out.
Bridcut's a shame because he's.
Sorry, John.
So I'm just saying, Liam Bridcut was a shame because he is a tidy player, but obviously we can't have a player in.
He hasn't been a player for 4 years or something. If you look over the last 4 years, he's barely played in 4 years, and you've got to give up at some point, don't you? Same with Kev Stewart. People keep saying, "Oh, if we can get Kev Stewart fit," but you've just got to look at that long-term record and say they can't. You know, it's sad, but their bodies can't hack it.
Mm-hmm.
How old's Big Gaz?
32. See how quickly I knew that. Worrying.
You know his vital statistics.
His birthday,
hair colour, eye colour, inside leg measurement.
All I know, John, is he's a goal machine.
I was watching back has anyone seen on the official YouTube channel the goals of the season? Big Gaz has got a couple on there. That one at Wigan. And the one at Wigan.
Yeah, but I was going to say that one. I bet that one.
I thought I actually was serving somebody today, and they put the TV on, and Blackpool Lincoln was on from Wembley, the Wembley game, and I've
never seen that back, Andy. In fact, I'd love to watch that back.
Honestly, it was just by pure chance, and they were in extra time. Injury time at the time, and I thought I was hallucinating because I saw Stewart on the pitch. I thought, oh no! I must, you know, if I'd have taken 2 paracetamol in the morning, I think I'd have picked the wrong tablets up.
I think the one you've got to pick out a little bit. You've got to say Maxwell. I mean, it's right that he's gone. But he was, he had a terrific. To be fair, a terrific season and a half for us. He was very good when he first came in. He made one of the best when he'd first come in. He made one of the best saves I have ever seen in my life against. Sunderland. I think it was Ipswich.
Away.
No, that was.
Do you remember how good he was at Sunderland away?
He was unreal at Sunderland away. But this one at Ipswich when he'd first come in, his first game, he looked really weird. He looked really edgy. He looked like he didn't know what he was doing, and I wasn't sure about him. And he made this save against Ipswich, and I think we beat them 2-1. I think. It might be when David Dunn was in charge. I can't. Anyway, he clawed a ball out that it must have gone a yard past him, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. You know when people go on about that Gordon Banks save? It was like that. It was like it defied physics. It was wonderful. And then obviously the Sunderland away performance, he was absolutely superb. And even this year, he was brilliant at where was it? Sheffield United away where he was brilliant at one get. He had like one proper good game for us. And yeah, it's gone sour. And yeah, it clearly hasn't maybe been right in terms of a few things with him, but you've got to sort of say he was decent for a period with us, and he was part of success. So I think him, Garbs as well to a certain extent, and obviously Gaz, sort of go with honours, and the rest of them are kind of pretty obvious. They're either broken or they're kids who haven't made it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if Critch is on the phone to Maxwell now, that would be on.
And Medine.
But I genuinely think that we wouldn't have been as harsh on Maxwell if we hadn't got Grimshaw.
Yeah.
It was just that 90% of us think Grimshaw's better. And quite potentially, we've got the best goalkeeper in League One now.
I think if Grimshaw hadn't have been as harshly dropped as he was,
yes,
I think people would have been a lot more forgiving.
Yeah,
with Maxwell.
Yeah, maybe Maxwell ended up taking a certain amount of stick for the decision.
Did for managerial decisions. Yeah. But he has been a great servant for Blackpool over the past few years, and we wish him well. And who can forget that playoff final? To
be fair, not wanting to ignite any grief against certain people who may have not released a classy leaving statement, he did put out something really nice on
He did.
social media about it all and everything. So, good luck to the lad.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's-
And whenever
that's
he was dropped as well, he was always, whoever manager it was said he's been brilliant in training and he's taken it on the chin. And, he's obviously a consummate professional. Like you say, he put a very nice statement out when he went, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy, and I think he's the sort of guy that will have a decent career in coaching, to be honest.
I can still see him doing a job in the lower leagues for several years.
Oh, yeah, he probably will. But he's interested in coaching and managing and things like that, and he studies a lot, and you'll see him become.
I think his perfect role, Andy. I think his perfect role will be to go to a championship or a Premier League club and be the third keeper and a coach, because he'll keep himself fit. He's obviously very, he's a hard worker. He'll keep himself fit. He's that kind of player you can see at 37, 38, 39, still being in great shape. And if, whoever, Southampton desperately have an injury crisis, they can call up Chris Maxwell, goalkeeping coach, and he'll pop up on Match of the Day randomly one day. And we'll go, yeah, it's Maxie. Is he still playing? Where's he come from? And I think he'll probably enjoy that, because I think he'd be very good. He's obviously sort of a leader, isn't he? And I think he'll be good in coaching.
114 appearances for Blackpool as well. So
yeah.
124 for Fleetwood. What?
Yeah, he was there for a while, wasn't he?
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
3 seasons, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's weird these days, though, isn't it? The 114 seems like loads, because players just move more than they did. Do you remember, like, when you sort of early 90s, you'd look through the programme and sort of there'd be loads of players with 100 appearances, but now it seems they turn over really quickly, don't they?
What did that? There was a Southampton player. Oh no, it might be Terry Payne, I think, and he was 700. If I might be wrong, but 724 rings a bell and things like that. But he just, because he's a one club man and things.
Don't see that a lot nowadays, do you?
No, certainly don't.
Mike Davis, one club man.
I was going to say Mike Davis is the last one I can remember.
Fleetwood, eh? It's all going off there. Should we go there? I'm talking about the new dome they've got, obviously.
Yes.
Well, it's like.
Are you talking about their well-priced season ticket offers, John?
It's related to money.
Well,
they miraculously came from nowhere, didn't they? Let's be fair.
I think that's where they're going back to.
And like, probably it maybe they won't. Maybe they get, they get sold or whatever it is, or taken over for £1 or whatever you do these days in those circumstances. But it's not great, is it? When it's far more than the football, isn't it? It's about people and their livelihoods, isn't it? It's about people that were employed by the organisation, including the football club. It's about the people that look as though they've been had over a little bit, and a little bit, yeah. But that's about what it is. It's about the people. To me, it's not about the person. If someone's done well out of what he did, then it's about the people that are now going to suffer and have suffered. That's what it's about.
I wonder what's going to happen to that club now.
Well,
worrying times for. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating, and I don't want to get us in trouble in terms of things, but I'm speculating. But this has been hanging over them for a while, hasn't it? No, it's been no secret that there's things not been perhaps entirely above board around Fleetwood for their board for some time. So you wonder what contingencies have they had in place for a circumstance like this? Has he has he secured the future of the football club in any way? Will we see it sort of, well, I mean, look, in our own history, we've seen chairmanship by proxy from HMP wherever, haven't we? It's a difficult thing. I don't know. I mean, they can function. I mean, if Accrington can function and teams like Stevenage can function, then they function on very small gates. They can function, but I don't think they can function in the way they have done with the sort of, intentions of Championship football and the big name managers, and there'll surely be a change in that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'd be interesting to visit the Dome.
It's very expensive to go in that Dome. I was looking at it for my kids' team. So might say, 30 quid, take it or leave it for an hour.
It'll all depend. I'm sure it's.
I wish we had a Dome. I wish we had the Bloomfield Dome.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The Squaresgate Dome. I bet they'd love a dome there, particularly in the winter.
Well, it actually the reason why it's because it takes them to the next level of academy. Having a dome takes them into level 2. I think we're in level 3, and so they're actually pushing. They were all set up now to push miles past us on the academy, and God knows how that's going to develop. So it'll be a tangled web of finance, I'm sure.
Well, certainly dodged a bullet there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to loan players returning to the clubs. Josh Bowler, Fiorini, Charlie Good, forgotten about him, Charlie Patino, Jan Poveda and Morgan Rogers. Obviously a loss, apart from Charlie Good, all those players. Any chance we're going to maybe retain or get back one of that out of that list?
I think if we
which ones would you take out of that list?
The one I'd want above all is Rogers. He really impressed me with his attitude, the way he played, and I thought Nick said about him playing really well at Norwich. I agree, and what I liked was he looked a bit lost when he played up front at first, but he looked like he'd really learned and worked on what he was doing in that solo role. So I think I like his capacity to learn. I'd take Rogers out of that lot. I'd take Fiorini as well, to be fair. I think he'd be a terrific signing, but I think League One, I'm struggling to see them coming back because, it's a step on loan. It's a step down in their development. And when you never see that, do you? You never see, well, unless the loans have been a disaster, you don't see him go out on loan to a lower level. And I can't see us prizing him away. I mean, people are saying, we could chuck $1 million at City for Rodgers. I just can't see it.
I think did they not pay 3 or 4 for him, I think. And that's
he's
the thing.
Never going to get into City's team, is he?
No, he's not. But I think they will see it as what is the next phase in their development. And like Mitch says, it's not normally, we'll drop you down a league when you've just proved you've got a bit about you in the Championship. Patino, I know he said he's leaving Arsenal, but I think there'll be a queue there.
I think Patino will go abroad, I reckon.
Yeah, I think he'd suit it.
Better in Spain, wouldn't he?
With a bit of time on the ball. I mean, I'd love to have Rodgers back and Fiorini, but realistically, I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
I thought Charlie Good looked brilliant.
What, for 20 minutes he played? But the other thing is, as well as the other players who've come back, isn't there? Apart from Virtue, there's
Dale.
There's
Dale,
Owen Dale, Casey, Tharm. But I think somebody posted on A View from the Tower, like the links to the various clubs they've been at and what the fans thought of them. And I think it was sort of mixed reviews. I think Virtue and Casey probably came out of it best in terms of how they'd done, or how the fans of the teams they'd been at thought they'd done. I think it was a bit mixed for Dale. There was, people saying he was great in spells. There was flashes, but not a lot of end product. So it'd be interesting to see
what he was like for us, wasn't it?
That's what he was like for us, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. And I mean, Casey, I think he got Player of the Season at Forest Green, but obviously they got relegated, didn't they? And shipped a lot of goals. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's just down to him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them.
He's been around Big Dunk though, to be fair, which was a
yeah.
Another player you'd love to have seen in Tangerine, Mitch. You know, I would. I would be.
Dunk in Tangerine would be fantastic. He could have brought his newfound vegan awareness. Have you seen those videos where Big Dunk talks about environmentalism? They're my favourite thing of the whole year.
It's like, yeah.
Right, I think we'll leave it there. Nearly an hour. Anything else? Any closing thoughts from anyone before we?
I was just going to quickly mention season tickets.
Okay,
what people thought on because they came out, didn't they? And there was kind of a bit of a mixed reaction, I think. But then when you look at comparison in prices with the rest of League One, it doesn't actually seem too bad. I think the thing for me was the extra £20 for the season card if you don't have it on your phone. I think for some people, you know, they might not have the capability for doing it on the phones, and to charge another £20 when you've already got a card, haven't you? So I don't know why we can't just reactivate what we've got.
I don't mind there being a fee for something that's an inconvenience for the club, but I think the fee's got to be commensurate to the task. And in my exciting professional life, one of the things I'm familiar with is the programming of ID and identity cards by software. And it is literally, you load up something into a system, you press a button that relates to a particular card, and it's like that, you know. And this sort of, it's costing the club loads, because it's not costing the club loads. And the fact that they're going to need to maintain the cards, they're going to need to maintain the card system until literally 0 people request a card, and that'll be years and years and years and years and years. So, you know, they're going to have to maintain this system anyway. They're going to have to buy whatever software license it is that they're required to do those cards. And I think £20 is ridiculous. Fleetwood charge £4 to have a card. Preston, my mate, said they charge, I think it's 10, which still seems exorbitant, and they were kicking off about it, but it's half what we charge. So, you know, if there's an inconvenience, charge a couple of quid, fine. But £20, that's the sticking point for me. And I think the season ticket prices, you know, they feel a bit high instinctively. But you look at the rest of the division, like you say, Nick, and that's the cost of football and what have you. But that don't seem right to me, particularly as a lot of the people who will use it will be pensioners and or people who want to have a physical card for the kid. Because it's, you know, go, there's your card, mate. In he goes, blip. And then as soon as he gets through this side of the turnstile, I take it off him immediately because he will lose it. And I put it in my wallet and it stays there till the next week. And we've in all the time we've been going together, like 4.5 years or whatever, we've been going together. Once I forgot the cards and we had to go and get paper things and it worked fine. But I can just see with phones, because he won't want me to manage his digital ticket because he's 12, and he'll be like, I'll have it on my phone. I can just see that being a nightmare. Right, mate, have you got your phone? What? Or it'll be dead. And then I'll have to be going to the ticket office. So it seems, and I don't mind paying a £5 for the card, but £20 seems excessive. It seems that it's not a £20 service. And I think it's one thing where the club could just reflect. And, you know, the cost of it, the income to them is going to be minimal. The cost of it, I think it's one point they could reflect on.
Get a bit of decent PR. Yeah.
The other one, you know, was if you want to bring a group, that you get some kind of deal with a group, because like, as I found out last year, trying to buy 25, 26 tickets, and they want 30 odd quid to sit in the stand for everybody. You know, just do a bit of a deal, give them a couple of comps in it or something like that, but they won't do anything. But I think from a price point of view, I'm about the same. Like touch high, if I really was, to be honest, you know, 319 instead of 349 would have been about where I'd have pitched, I think. But you know, it is what it is.
So it's 349, isn't it? So that's 15 quid per match. It's not
That's
that
it.
bad,
When you
is it?
break it down,
15 quid a match
it's
is pretty good, really.
It is. It's decent, and I suppose the walk-on price. People might say, could that be a bit cheaper?
It's down to 26 from 30.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people there are who pay, who walk on the day sort of thing. I don't know. I think did they scrap the membership thing from
no membership scheme. Yeah.
So that maybe makes it a bit easier. I don't want to be down on them, and I think when you look at some of the other clubs, there's some eye-watering prices at some of the other teams in the division. I suppose as well, if it's been invested,
Wickham's about 550 in it. Or something.
Yeah, who are?
Wickham is well expensive. What? Yeah. Sorry, Nick, I interrupted there.
No, it's okay. I was just saying that, if it's ultimately being reinvested, then if it gives us chance to buy better quality players, I suppose then, it's all good, isn't it?
If our season ticket cards work next season.
I'm sure they will.
It'll be
there. Scan mine, rejected.
Critch is in there now. He's just tinkering in those. He's oiling the little machines and everything. He's going around with his little polo shirt on and a little twinkle in his eye, getting it all ready.
It is. Get your body warmers ready. First game of the season.
Ironing all his polo shirts and everything, getting it all ready.
Yes, here it is. Here it is.
Well, he won't have his body warmer on till about October. He'll be in his polo shirt.
I'm just looking forward to the new range of body warmers that appears in the club shop. I'm sure we'll be all over that when that range is released. Right, everybody, thanks for your company this evening as ever. We'll be back. We'll have a bit of a break. Obviously, now it's summer.
Fixture release day.
Yeah,
we'll be back, John, when we get the cavalcade of wow signings that are going to come in, and we'll be talking about
Cameron Brannigan podcast.
Yeah.
Pondcast.
Theo returns as assistant manager.
Right, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for downloading. Up the pool.
Up the pool.